What up, cucks? It's time for the highly anticipated Wrestling News Edition, #1 in this bitch. All right. A lot of things have been happening around us, motherfucks, and a lot of these things have not gone unnoticed by your girl's favorite YouTuber, the hater. That's me, motherfucks. All right. So, let's get this show on the road. All right. We're going to talk about a lot of things here from a lot of different organizations. All right. A lot of these are things that I've heard during the week, and some of them are things that my friend told me today. You know what I mean? So some of these might be like not important, but I'm going to talk about them anyways. So wrestling news #1, tidbit #1, arguably the most irrelevant thing ever. This is just me basically making fun of my friend. So my friend tells me, he's like, yo, Marty Scurll re-signed with ROH. But he said it with a disappointment, right? Because what he's trying to say basically was, oh man, we're not going to see Marty Scurll in AEW anytime soon. And I'm like, dude, who gives a fuck about Marty Scurll? This guy sucks ass. I don't give a rat's ass about Marty Scurll. So that's not even news. That's just like the most irrelevant. That's kind of like saying, oh, Juice Robinson signed an extension with New Japan. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? No one cares at all, motherfuckers. So yeah, let's move on from that. Wrestling news 2. We talked about this during the Wrestle Kingdom thing. Kenta is now in the main event. Enough said. Kenta sucks. Hideo Itami sucks. The other Kenta Kobayashi, whatever, he sucks too, motherfucks. You know what I mean? All these motherfuckers are assholes, and they're shit in the ring. They're shit on the mic. Kenta sucks. I remember people being like, oh, Kenta, this guy's going to be the future of WWE. And I see him. His finishing move is a dropkick. For a while, it was a dropkick. You know, they're like, oh, he can't do the GTS. And he does it and injures someone. You know, it kind of makes you think like, oh man, CM Punk might have done a better GTS than this cocksucker. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, right? Wrestling News 3, one of my personal favorites. I didn't even watch SmackDown, but and apparently this was advertised quite a lot. But John Morrison made his re-debut with the same music, same entrance, kind of, in a segment of Miz TV. Now, apparently, the week before that, Miz had turned heel by hitting, who did he hit? Either Big E or Kofi. Apparently one of them was like being very, according to the Miz, one of them was being very positive. Miz hit him in the face. This actually sounds more entertaining than what we're seeing on Raw or AEW, if I'm being honest. But anyways, John Morrison comes out to support the Miz, basically, right? And the Miz says, I'm sorry to Kofi, whatever, right? But John Morrison is back, motherfucks. This is newsworthy and noteworthy because unlike the crowd today at Raw, the Kentucky crowd, shout out to Kentucky, wherever the fuck they were for SmackDown, no one seemed to give a rat's ass that John Morrison is coming back. Now, I understand, all right? I understand that John Morrison is overhyped and overrated. You know, I've always liked John Morrison, but I can recognize that he's definitely being overhyped, right? Because he left and went to the Indies, now we're supposed to be like more, you know, excited about him, right? It's like, to me, this is almost like when Dolph Ziggler comes back once in a while. You're like, oh, Dolph Ziggler's back. Like, and people are like, what, he left? Who the fuck cares, right? It feels like that. Like, he's on the level of Dolph Ziggler. He's not just like it's not like John Cena came back, you know, it's fucking John Morrison, right? Who cares? But despite that, you would expect a bigger reaction because it's presented as a big deal, you know? And John Morrison is like good in the ring and he's charismatic enough, you know, like, but not enough. He's not charismatic enough, but he's charismatic to a tolerable point. You know, he got no reaction, and that kind of sucks. Also noteworthy, he re-debuted on SmackDown, not on Raw, and not on NXT, where a lot of people thought he was gonna go. Motherfucks. All right. Next up, what's the next news? All right, Brock Lesnar enters the Rumble at #1. So people are thinking to themselves, what the fuck's gonna happen? There's apparently some leaked card, right, which quickly was dispelled as a rumor, right, and as fake. Now, I saw the leaked card today, and I was like, this is fucking stupid. The main event was Brock versus Tyson Fury, which is conceivable. But then the matches were like pretty much the match that we had tonight on Raw, right? Except it's a hardcore tag match. The fuck between AOP Rollins and like Team Fat Ass. No, that's not a paper. That's like a pre-show match. You know what I mean? Big Show, if he's gonna be there, he's gonna have a spotlighted type match, man. It's gonna be important. You know, this seems like just a throwaway garbage match. And then we had things like, what else do we have in that stupid ass card? I don't remember, but it was garbage. That card was garbage. All right. Now I know we're going through this news pretty quickly because I'm saving some of the best ones for last, motherfucks. But maybe not for last, maybe for now. All right. Big news, right? Becky Lynch, motherfucks. Becky Lynch. Apparently her contract is coming up, and she's one of the highest paid people in the company right now. Now, I understand if you're the highest paid person in your company, and the most successful in your company, this might make you think that you're hot shit, right? But Vince McMahon, when Stone Cold quit unceremoniously back in the day, Vince McMahon said it straight up. He said, no one is bigger than the WWE. No one, not one man, right? And he's like, Stone Cold took his ball and went home, and he can kiss my ass, more or less, right? But with some respect, because he's like, all right, I'm not going to deny the contributions that he made, but he took his ball and he went home. The end, right? And the issue with this, right, is that Vince McMahon is right. You know, it doesn't matter if you're the number one guy on TV. Nothing is bigger than WWE. Now, I'm not saying that Becky Lynch has put it upon herself to pretend that she's bigger than the WWE. But you can tell that it's getting to her head, right? That's even part of the storyline with Asuka. You can tell that this broad thinks she's better than she is, you know? And I got news for you, sweetheart. Like, if I were Vince McMahon, I would lowball the shit out of her. I'd be like, you want to leave? Go ahead. Be my guest. I don't give a fuck. I would just take Bayley or Sasha Banks and give them a Becky Lynch push, and I would create a new Becky Lynch. The end. It would be that simple as that. Or Lacey Evans, or whoever the fuck Vince McMahon decides to push, right? This is a manufactured push, motherfucks. Becky Lynch is not good. She's not better than other divas, right? In no capacity is Becky Lynch better than the other divas, right? She's just the one that was chosen to be the one that she is, right? It is completely arbitrary. You know, back in the day, let's say in the late 90s, motherfuckers, when I was just a wee child, when I was just a small boy, I thought to myself, you know, Britney Spears came out, right? And she was very, very popular in the 90s, as I'm sure everyone fucking knows, right? And I thought to myself, like, you can just tell by listening to Britney Spears sing, right? That this bitch can't sing for shit, right? She can't hit a note, you know? That's why she has to do that, right? Like it's so exaggerated and over the top. And I'm just like, why is this girl, like, picked to be, like, you know, why is she the star, right? And the question couldn't be answered. A lot of people were like, well, she's hot. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, okay, I could see that. You know, she's obviously an attractive girl. I'm not going to sit here and say Britney Spears, especially in the 90s, was not attractive, you know? But that can't be the answer, right? It can't be the answer because we all know through common sense, right? There's way hotter girls, right? Way hotter girls than Britney Spears, right? Like if some talent agent was like, yo, I'm gonna find the hottest broad ever and make her a star, he wouldn't stop at Britney Spears, you know? He'd find someone way hotter, right? But they stopped at Britney Spears. Like, compare, for example, to Christina Aguilera, right? Christina Aguilera, in my opinion, was hotter, and she was by far a superior singer, right? And they tried to make it happen. They tried to make Christina Aguilera happen as well. But it didn't work as well, right? It didn't work. Britney Spears was the one that, quote unquote, the market chose. But it wasn't the market, right? It was the powers that be. They promoted her. They spent millions of dollars marketing Britney Spears to young girls and sometimes young boys, motherfucks, right? If that happened today, those young boys would be like, oh, I want to identify as Britney Spears. Oh, I'm a girl now. You know, weird shit. But in the 90s, that kind of stuff didn't exist. You know, people didn't identify as anything. People just were what they were, you know? So, you know, Becky Lynch is no different than Britney Spears, right? They just picked her. They're like, all right, it's going to be you now, kid. We've chosen you. You know, the power. Same thing with Justin Bieber. I mean, Justin Bieber, honestly, in my opinion, is a bit more talented, right? But it's the same idea, right? It's like you have like other Justin Bieber types from before him, right? Like Jesse McCartney, these other guys, sort of like the exact same thing, you know. But they chose Justin Bieber. That's who they chose to put forward, right? And it's the same thing with Becky Lynch. Very few people organically become successful, right? They go like a group like Migos, since my good friend MW, you know what I'm saying? My nemesis, if you will, MW in the other video, or another video, he commented that like Ric Flair drip sucks, right? And that's one of the guys like Offset or whatever from Migos is in that song, right? I'm just like, dude, like you can say what you want. Like, I mean, like I consider myself a fan of rap and hip hop, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say that Migos is like the greatest rap ever, but I will acknowledge what the truth is, right? Or people like Soldier Boy. Remember Soldier Boy, motherfuckers? I bet you a lot of you fucks forgot about Soldier Boy, right? It's the same thing. Migos and Soldier Boy, at least they organically put themselves over. They got over on their own, you know? Migos started doing things like saying the word dabbing, right? Before you know it, Cam Newton's doing it. Boom, Migos skyrocket, right? They keep themselves culturally relevant. They do the right things, right? They're not completely manufactured. Same thing. Someone like The Rock, Stone Cold, a lot of these people are like Christian. Remember him, motherfuckers? Like a lot of these people have put themselves over organically. And people like Becky Lynch, you know, and this leads me to the other part of this Becky Lynch related news. Number one news, her contract's coming up and she wants big money, right? And Becky Lynch news number two. Apparently, she was on some show. Like, I don't want to say it's probably not Oprah, but like an Oprah-esque type, like, let's talk about like our feelings, right? And she said something like, you know, like a lot of men have had subpar main events, right? At WrestleMania. But she has a subpar main event, and it becomes like this whole, you know, crusade to, you know, say that women don't deserve to be in the main event. Now, all right, let's analyze this for a little bit, motherfucks, right? There's some truth to that. Like, she's not completely wrong. You know what I mean? She is someone that, like, the points she's making are valid, right? Like, in an argument, it makes sense, right? It makes sense to say, like, well, wait a second, man. Just because Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey had, like, a subpar match, this doesn't necessarily mean that women should not main event WrestleMania, right? That seems like a little bit, you know, out there, if you will, motherfuckers, right? So, and I understand that, you know what I mean? I get that, right? But the issue with this is this, right? First of all, it starts off with the premise that men and women wrestlers both have the same amount of like claim, if you will, to main event, right? Which is ridiculous. First of all, there's more male wrestlers, right? Second of all, the implications here are that it is earned, right? That like Becky Lynch really believes, I think, in her heart of hearts, that she got the wrestling main event at WrestleMania, I should say, because she's a better wrestler than, let's say, I don't know, Roman Reigns, right? Or Seth Rollins. No, motherfucks. We all know that's not true, right? Here's what I said to my friend when we were watching WrestleMania. And the main event started. And my friend's like, oh my God, it's the first ever women's main event. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Cool, dog. I gets that. But then I said to him, all right, honestly, who do you think would put on a better match? Like, if you had to bet your life on which match would be better, technically speaking, you know what I'm saying, between these two matches. Match one, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey. Or match two, Drew Gulak versus Mustafa Ali versus Akira Tozawa. Which match do you think would be better, right? Obviously, the cruiserweight match would be better, right? Akira Tozawa is a better wrestler and a better athlete than Becky Lynch, right? But he's also Akira Tozawa, and no one gives a fuck about Akira Tozawa, right? That's the key here. The key to this argument is exactly that. The key is that if it was deserved, right? Like, for example, when the TNA Knockouts division started, right? I think one of the first matches was Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong in some sort of 6 sides of steel match, right? That's fucking awesome, right? Gail Kim dove off the cage or some crazy shit happened, man, versus Awesome Kong, who was awesome. You know what I mean? Pun intended, fucks, right? Now, if they rolled that out, right, and they started creating like real stars, like eventually they did, but for a while it was just Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, right? Then they created like whatever, the one that beat Awesome Kong randomly with like a roll up, I forget her name, right? Like Taylor something, I forget. But like Taylor Wilde, that's the name that's coming to my head. Anyways, right? Eventually they created like beautiful people and like a bunch of like real women's wrestlers, right? With real characters. Now, if at that time those women were to main event whatever Bound for Glory, right? It wouldn't be a good argument because you also have like Kurt Angle in the company and things like that. But you could make an argument of like, whoa, hold on a second. This is really the most compelling thing on TNA, right? There was a point where Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong was the most compelling thing. There's never been a point when Becky Lynch is the most compelling thing. But she seems to believe that that's the case. You understand what I'm saying, motherfucks? Right? If she really believes that she's better, like she thinks she's a better entertainer and a better wrestler than, I don't know, Tony Nese, right? She's not. It's ridiculous. Like, Tony Nese can do, like, actual moves, right? It doesn't botch 95% of the things that he does, right? Becky Lynch, I mean, maybe not 95%, but she botches a lot, man. She can't throw a punch. She can't throw a forearm. She can't do anything. Her emotions are exaggerated. She looks stupid now. There's a lot of things wrong with this broad, right? But despite this, her conclusion immediately, like the SJW conclusion, is immediately this: if you criticize me, it's because you're a sexist, and if you say women don't deserve to be like in the main event, it's because you're comparing them to men who have and neglecting the fact that sometimes men have put on shitty main event matches at WrestleMania. No, motherfuckers. Like, if that were true, that'd be fucked up. But what people are saying basically is this: that it's not that like, oh, you had a horrible main event, therefore women shouldn't be in the main event. The argument is actually this: women are not good enough wrestlers yet to be in the main event. Therefore, this agenda shouldn't be pushed down our throats, right? Because what that leads to is a shitty main event, right? In order to check the box of, oh, we're progressive, right? That's the real argument. And either Becky Lynch is too stupid to understand this, and other people, not just her, but other people, or they're so brainwashed into thinking like they may have bought into their own hype, right? Becky Lynch may really think of to herself as the next Stone Cold, right? When in fact she's not even the next Ivory. You know what I mean? That's the key here, motherfuckers. That's the key. Don't let people, just general life advice, motherfuckers. Don't let people tell you what you think, right? It's very, very, in my opinion, very, very clear what's going on, right? People are basically saying, yo, I have no problem. I mean, perhaps they're not saying all of this, but I'm saying personally, like, I have no problem with women main eventing anything, right? I couldn't give a rat's ass if it's women, cruiserweights, whatever. I want the most compelling and deserving thing to main event. Right? This is the entire CM Punk argument, right? CM Punk thought he was the most compelling, entertaining thing, and he's like, yeah, I want to be the main event. And they're like, sorry, dog, Batista's coming back. A real man's coming back. You can't be in the main event. And he's like, well, I don't want to be at all. I don't want to wrestle at all. And he left, right? And people are like, well, what a hero, right? So when other people say this about Becky Lynch, why is that like not okay, right? It's the same exact argument. The argument is, I do not think, personally, that Becky Lynch, Charlotte, or Ronda Rousey are compelling enough to main event anything, let alone WrestleMania. Right? They just aren't. You know, they're not entertaining enough. They're not good in the ring enough. It's not gonna create a good match, right? No, it doesn't mean that women can't do this. This just means Becky Lynch can't do it. She's not good enough, man. And that's the worst form of cowardice. Is if you are someone who performs subpar and someone tells you, yo, you performed subpar, you suck. You know, whatever you did, it was shit, right? If someone tells you this, and then you take this and you hide behind your whatever, what's the word that we could, what's the buzzword? I can't think of it, but like the opposite of privilege, you know, like you hide behind your persecution, if you will, right? You hide behind your oppression. That's the word, right? You hide behind your oppression, right? So like, instead of accepting the possibility that you suck, not because you're a woman, but you suck because you suck, you're like, well, you're saying that because I'm a woman. But what about Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow? They didn't have a good match. Yeah, they suck too, you know? Well, not Bam Bam, but Lawrence Taylor, he shouldn't have been in the main event of WrestleMania, right? Even though he gave it his all. But you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, it's the same exact philosophy, right? It's like, if you suck, you suck. I don't care if you're a woman, if you're black, if you're white. I couldn't give a rat's ass what you are. I don't want to see you on my TV screen if you bore me half to death, right? And this is what it's come to now. Now it's come to the point where if you criticize it, people are like, oh, it's because you hate women. No, I don't hate women. I hate you, dog. I hate you, Becky Lynch. You're the one who sucks. In the context of women's wrestling, a lot of the women's wrestlers just aren't good enough. Let's just call it what it is. They're not good enough in the ring, man. You know, they bring these Japanese broads, and then they're like, oh, there's like Asuka is like top 5 wrestlers, including men. No, she's not, motherfuckers. No, she's not. She's like, everyone on 205 Live is better than Asuka. Every one of them is a better wrestler than Asuka. Even Arya Davari is a better wrestler than Asuka, right? But it's the way that they're presented and the way they're booked. For the same reason why I'm sure there's people out there singing at some like irrelevant coffee shop, right? That are better singers than Britney Spears, but will never get the opportunity, right? And at least have some humility. If you're Britney Spears, you should be thanking God every day that you were the one that was chosen. You hit the lottery, kid. It wasn't because of your talent. It wasn't even because of your sex appeal. It was because someone got tired of searching for someone. They're like, you'll do, broad. You'll do. And now you're a millionaire holding your balls out there. You know what I mean? While other people with some talent are trying and struggling to make it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I'm not saying you owe them your spot. No one's saying Britney Spears should no one's saying check your privilege. No one's saying Britney Spears should be like, oh, this is, but no. But it would be tantamount to ridiculousness if Britney Spears came out and said, I'm the most talented, I am the iconic singer of the 90s, like that kind of bullshit, right? If she did that, people would be like, I gotta go fuck yourself. We all know the truth. And the truth is, you're not that good of a musician. Fuck. And same thing with Becky Lynch. The truth is, you ain't that good, sweetheart. And if I were Vince, I'd be like, yeah, you're growing a little too big for your own britches, as they say, right? No, fam. I'll job you out to fucking like Sarah Logan. That's what I would do if I was Vince. Don't piss me off. But he doesn't want to lose his cash cow, and I understand that. That, I think, is one of the highest points of wrestling news. But on that same light, motherfuckers, on that same vein, right? Apparently, TNA had a pay-per-view yesterday, right? And that pay-per-view was called TNA or whatever, Impact, Hard to Kill, motherfuckers. Hard to Kill, motherfuckers, right? I didn't watch this only because I was busy. I actually would have probably watched it because I haven't watched a TNA pay-per-view in a while, and I would have treated myself to one. I'd be like, all right, let's give this thing a shot, right? But I didn't. Now, here's the problem with this, right? I read the results. I don't give a rat's ass about anything other than the main event. Now, the main event holds Sami Callihan, who was in NXT briefly, right? I don't really keep up with TNA, but I understand that he and a bunch of Ohio-based wrestlers, right, have formed a group called OVE, Ohio versus Everything. And their entire thing is that they're these ultra-violent, like street ruffian types, right? These like guys that you don't want to fuck with. That's like their entire shtick. It's not like they're like pretend tough or they're not like their gimmick is they're just like guys you would not want to fuck with. Like they're just bad dudes, right? They're crazy, right? So, and like there's a promo I saw where like someone's talking to Sami Callihan and he just holds his head up vertically, right, parallel to the sky, and spits a loogie, right, and then the loogie lands on his face, and he just like continues like talking to this person, right? This is how demented and disgusting this guy is. He'll spit on his own face, doesn't give a fuck, right? So these people are complete monsters, right? When he was I remember Sami Callihan at an indie show, right? I went to an indie show. This was like before anyone knew who he was, right? I only remember him because I was like, wow, this guy's name is Sammy with an I. What a weird fucking name. And because of his unitard. And he was out there hawking DVDs, right? Selling DVDs of his bullshit. And I'm like, and he tried to like persuade me and my friends to come buy it. But we're like, who the fuck are you? Like, we're here to like watch whatever. Like I think we were there, like the guest, the honorary guest at the time was Kenny from the Spirit Squad. And what I'm like, who the fuck is Sami Callihan? I mean, that Sami Callihan is a much bigger star than Kenny Dystra. But it is what it is, I remember when this guy was signed, I had seen him a couple of times because he came back to the indie place that I went to, and he won some tournament there, but I didn't watch it. I missed that year, right? And eventually he got signed to WWE, and he was like in shape, relatively speaking, because Sami Callihan's always been like a little pudgy, right? But now in TNA, he's really let himself go, and I like it though, right? Like what Jericho says that he's like putting on weight to be a heel. That is stupid. He's putting on weight because he's 50 years old, right? And he's probably an alcoholic. I can tell from his face. I know a lot of alcoholics in my face. So, but I shouldn't say he's an alcoholic, but I think Jericho likes his drinking, And you can tell he has that bloated face, that bloated physique, that red face, Good for him. I mean, I couldn't give a rat's ass. Like, I don't think he's like an alcoholic, a problem alcoholic or anything like that. I think he's just, I think it's pretty well documented that he's a big drinker. But anyways, so whereas Sami Callihan in Impact, when you see him and he's like this, like not fat slob, but this just guy who spits at his own face, like it really works, man. I really like, I haven't seen much of him, I'm not gonna lie, but I really like this OVE as a concept. Like, I think it's cool, And he's the champion, right? And he beat Brian Cage, who is a complete monster of a human being, right? Tessa Blanchard, motherfucks, she beat Brian Cage in a number one contenders match. The finish was, she was like on top of his shoulders essentially, and Brian Cage did a backflip and like basically she power bombed him, but Brian Cage did all of it, right? I could have done that. So she pinned Brian Cage. They're supposed to be friends. So now it's Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan for the Impact World Championship, right? This is the same title that was held by people like Kurt Angle fucking Christian Cage, Samoa Joe in his prime, AJ Styles in his prime, Sting, motherfuckers. You know, this is a very prestigious title in many ways. Now, I know in the last few years, it's gone downhill being held by jobbers like Austin Aries. I understand that it's lost its prestige. It's lost its luster, right? I would argue that it lost that, like, Bully Ray, he was like a fun champ, and it was like it felt good when he was champ. AJ Styles beating him also felt good. And after that, when like Magnus won it, and like, this is not the Magnus that we have today. This is like TNA Magnus, you know, when he sucked ass. Magnus won it. Bobby Roode won it. Eric Young, who I like, but he shouldn't have been champion, won it. You know, this caliber of wrestler started winning it. And it's not like, you know, Eric Young, if you pushed him correctly, like in his later TNA days when he was the world-class maniac, that would have been a great time to make him champion. And when he was like a Daniel Bryan, like TNA's version of Daniel Bryan, even though Eric Young did the beard first, motherfucks, that didn't make any sense. Now, this prestigious title is now being held by Tessa Blanchard because she defeated Sami Callihan. So this marks the first time, if you don't count Lucha Underground, which I fucking don't, the first time that a major promotion, right, has a woman for its main champion. Now, again, if this made sense, I'd be all about it. When Jim Cornette joined TNA, one of the matches he did like one of the Deuces Wild tournament when beer money was formed, basically, right? Where it's like you take like a former tag champ or something and you partner them up with like a random ass partner, right? To just create fresh tag teams. And one of the tag teams they created was like Road Dogg and Awesome Kong, or like AJ Styles and Awesome Kong. Like, Awesome Kong was involved, basically, right? And this was awesome, right? It was tight because it's conceivable that Awesome Kong could beat up like Shark Boy, right? It's conceivable. You know, she probably couldn't in real life, let's be real, but it's conceivable. You know what I mean? So, like, or at least in wrestling, she can powerbomb him, right? She can pick him up and throw him, no doubt about it, right? So, with all this in mind, right, when you piss on my face and you tell me that wrestlers like China in WWE, who had legitimate world title opportunities, never became WWE champion, which she shouldn't have become, of course, right? It was Triple H's time, motherfuckers. It's my time. Yo, here comes trouble. Right? It wasn't her time, fucks. It wasn't her time. But she never became champion. Awesome Kong never became like a champion in TNA, like a men's champion, right? But Tessa Blanchard is the one that you've chosen? Tessa Blanchard, motherfucks? Tessa Blanchard. But before we continue talking about her, I had put a TV show on pause on my DVR, and I guess I paused it for too long, and it started playing. Like the TV started playing, and it was on the news. And the news was about how some weirdo from the royal family reacted to like whatever those fucking assholes like Meghan Markle and and Ed Sheeran, whatever the fuck that guy is. These two jerk-offs leaving the monarchy. Now, side rant, motherfucks. You know, since we're talking about news, I guess we're gonna broaden this up to not just wrestling news, but news, right? The royal family can lick my pickle, all right? That's what I think about these assholes, right? First of all, Meghan Markle and the ginger, right? I know one of them. I'm not sure if it was the ginger or the one that's married to Kate Middleton, but one of them, what did he do? He like pretended he wasn't a soldier to join the army. Now that's badass. Now England, I don't think England's going to war or anything like that, but it's badass, right? This is a guy born into royalty, and he's like, nah, man, I want to go be a warrior. You know, I want to like fight for my people, right? That's cool. Whoever that was, good for him. If it's the ginger, he can still go fuck himself, and here's why. When he and Meghan Markle got together, almost immediately, first of all, this became news for some reason. Like I give a rat's ass about what's happening in England, right? But you know, England's cool. I have some very good friends in England. So when they got together, they made a Lifetime movie within like a week where this egomaniac Meghan Markle plays herself, and some other ginger actor plays like Prince whatever, right? Harry or whatever the fuck his name is, right? So these cocksuckers made a movie about themselves. And that's when the hater started hating on their bitch asses, right? And now they've left the monarchy. And I go on YouTube and I see these motherfucks. They're like, this person reacts. What did Queen Elizabeth say? What did this person? I don't give a fuck. I don't care about the royal family. They can all suck my pickle, dude. That's what I think about these assholes. I don't care about them at all. There's some bullshit like I'm not 100% sure because I'm not from England, but don't the taxpayers subsidize the royal family in some capacity? Now, I know they have their own like independent wealth by owning land in London and probably other parts of England. So I get that. But aren't they subsidized like for public appearances, like or whatever the case may be, right? More importantly, even if they're not subsidized by the taxpayer, the taxpayers generate a lot of money for them, right? With bullshit things like, oh, let's go watch the royal wedding, right? Don't be fucking sheep, man. These are just a bunch of people. People got mad when Kim Kardashian and these people like started living their lives and doing nothing, right? And getting rich off of it. And I'm like, dude, the royal family's been doing this for like 100 years now. Who gives a fuck? Like Queen Elizabeth will come here and meet like George W. Bush or Obama or Trump, and like, oh, it's like, oh, she's met like 7,000 presidents because she's an old bag. I don't care, man. I don't care. Like, fuck that. Like, they're not politically relevant, But it's like now, like these two people, I don't even know the implications, but they left the royal family. Fuck them. How about that? How do you like them apples? Right? Anyways, back to Tessa Blanchard up in this bitch. Tessa Blanchard, nothing against the broad, That's another one piece of wrestling news is that she's accused of like racism or some, like one of my friends said, I think she said the N-word to someone, which is not cool, obviously. They also accused her of like saying something on Twitter that was catty to like a bunch of like female wrestlers. I don't care about any of that, if I'm being honest. I only care about what she does as a wrestler. I don't want to bring her personal life into this. The same way that I don't want to bring Lars Sullivan's, do I think it's cool that Lars Sullivan did gay porn? Of course not, motherfucks. I think it's fucking strange that this guy who's now a wrestler first did gay porn. It's like, I don't see how, well, I mean, I guess the two can connect in many ways, but it's weird because he's supposed to be this like super like monster type, and turns out he was like some porn actor all along, right? But should this have any impact on his career whatsoever? No, right? Hulk Hogan said some racist shit. Does that make him a good person? Probably not. Do I give a rat's ass when it comes to the wrestling character Hulk Hogan? I don't give a rat's ass about that. All I care about is my entertainment as entertainment, right? Like, unless you're committing a crime, if you're committing a crime, you should go to jail. And even then, if I'm being honest, like, I don't particularly like House of Cards, but if I did, I wouldn't stop watching because Kevin Spacey turned out to be a pedophile rapist. I don't care, man. Like, I separate art from the artist, and everyone should. If you're smart, you should. If you enjoy like a guy playing the guitar and he's killed 10 people, right? You can put him to prison and hang him for killing 10 people. Unacceptable. You can't be killing people, but you can still listen to his music. The two are not mutually exclusive, right? So I don't really care about that element of Tessa Blanchard, and I don't wish her harm or anything like that. Like, I don't hate her at that level. But what I do hate is the same thing I hate about Becky Lynch, that I think it's getting to this broad's head, and I think that's why these people are like, yo, man, you're not a good person because it's getting to your head. And that's a valid point. Because, let's be real, Tessa Blanchard is, like, I think she's like one of the better female wrestlers from what I've seen, But she's not this, like, incredible wrestler either. You know what I mean? She's not this like once in a lifetime talent to have the ultimate accolade, which is winning the first big promotion men's title held by people like fucking Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe in his prime, motherfucks, right? And Sting, Sting and Kurt Angle, man, two of the GOATs held this title. Now Tessa Blanchard is in there, But more importantly, let's talk about wrestlers that never held it, that were there. Fucking Booker T, motherfucks. Booker T never got that title. Right? Because Tessa Blanchard needed to get it. You understand what I'm saying, motherfucks? Do you see where I'm going with this, motherfucks? Right? It's a form of affirmative action to give it to Tessa Blanchard, right? It's basically there just to get a few eyes on you tomorrow, or I guess today in this case, right? To get a few eyes on you and be like, oh, this woman won the world championship, right? And then you're hoping that converts to viewers. I got news for you, pal. It won't. And I'll tell you why it won't. Because people know that wrestling is fake. And therefore, it's not an achievement when a woman does this, right? If, for example, let's say Ann Wolfe, one of my favorite boxers of all time, if Ann Wolfe, I don't know, decided to come out of retirement in whatever, she's like in her 60s at least, or 50s, at least 50s, right? If Ann Wolfe came out of retirement and she said, I'm going to go fight Tyson Fury, right? Despite the fact that Tyson Fury is like 135 pounds at least bigger than her, right? Despite literally twice her size, a foot and a half taller, right? Younger, a better boxer. Tyson Fury was one of the best boxers ever, right? Like, despite all this, right? If Ann Wolfe came out and knocked out Tyson Fury, that would be the greatest achievement in the history of sports because it would be real and it would be legit. But in a fake sport, it means nothing, motherfuckers. It means nothing. It's as simple as that. It means fuck all. So people are going to look at this and just see it as the ploy that it is, right? Is you're trying to manipulate us. You're trying to tell us that TNA is somehow better and more like, woke because they did this, right? It's the same thing as AEW by signing people like Nyla Rose. Now, do I give a rat's ass that Nyla Rose is a transvestite? Or whatever, transsexual. Don't give a fuck at all, man. I as a matter of fact, the people that say that Nyla shouldn't wrestle are, I think, in my opinion, full of shit. I'm not going to say they're transphobes or anything like that. That's ridiculous. But they're full of shit, right? She can control, Nyla Rose can control her strength. She doesn't have to hurt anybody. This is the perfect scenario, the perfect quote-unquote sport for this kind of thing to be allowed, right? And I have no problem suspending my disbelief and just looking at Nyla Rose and being like, she's a woman, right? In the context of this show, she's a woman. In the context of SmackDown, Hornswoggle was a leprechaun for a while, motherfucks, until he became just Hornswoggle, the bastard son of McMahon, right? You have to suspend your disbelief. And even if you don't think that Nyla Rose is really a woman, who gives a fuck? In the show, she's presented as a woman, and you just take that as what it is, right? But in the context of the show, when you do things that suggest to me, right, that Tessa Blanchard is now the best wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in the world, right there with Brock Lesnar. I remember when people were like, oh, who would win? Like Kurt Angle, the TNA champion, or John Cena, the WWE champion? Now, imagine that same conversation. Oh, who would win? Tessa Blanchard, the Impact champion? Or perhaps it would be Brock Lesnar, the WWE champion. Who the fuck do you think would win, dude? You know what I'm saying? That's the problem, right? And finally, because this video has gone on a little long, finally, another piece of news. Matt Hardy, motherfucks. Matt Hardy might be, whatever, not released, but his contract's coming up, so he might leave WWE. And people are saying that Matt Hardy should go to AEW. That's right, motherfuckers. A lot of my videos talk about AEW. He might go to AEW, and in AEW, Matt Hardy would benefit, according to some, because he would be allowed creative freedom. Now, here's what's wrong with that. Number one, we don't know that for a fact. We don't know who is and is not allowed creative freedom. If AEW does what they say they do and allow everyone creative freedom, then they have signed the most uncreative fucks I've ever seen in my life. Because no one there has done anything creative. No one there has done anything cool. In 4 months of like bullshit, nothing cool and awesome has happened. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nothing has happened in AEW to suggest to me that these people have creative freedom. If they did, they're all losers. If you have creative freedom and the best you can come up with is Jimmy Havoc and Darby Allin, you're not that creative, motherfucker. You're not a creative dude, right? So Matt Hardy is a creative dude. But at the same time, the question then becomes, how much more broken Matt Hardy can we tolerate? Right? What more is left to do? What more can he do, right? Now, some of his little vignettes that I saw one of them today, right, where he was like talking about some character, Keenigan or whatever, he was behind it all along, right? And now like Matt Hardy is like rebroken or some other bullshit, right? It's like part of the lore of Matt Hardy, right? Now, that's kind of cool. It's a fun little thing, but in wrestling, it's done, man. It's over. Furthermore, now what would that say about AEW if they were to sign Matt Hardy and he were to become broken Matt Hardy? I'll tell you what that would say. That would say that AEW is so unoriginal that they took a wrestler, right, who first became popular in WWE, right, reinvented himself in TNA as broken Matt Hardy, then took that shtick to WWE, and now is taking it back to NXT. I mean, to whatever the fuck, to AEW, right? That is the most unoriginal thing I've ever heard of in my life. If they do that, that's a mistake. And people, I mean, I don't think Matt Hardy's leaving WWE. I think he's doing this whole bullshit thing that everyone's doing now, like, oh, like I'm gonna leave if you don't give me like millions of dollars, right? And they're not like, why would he leave, right? That makes no sense. He's got like 7,000 kids now. So the way I see it is I don't see Matt Hardy leaving. But if he does, people are saying that he will be revealed as the leader of Dark Order. Wait a second. I thought Evil Uno was the leader of Dark Order. There has to be someone behind the shadows pulling the strings. I mean, I guess that could be cool. But it's not cool if it's Matt Hardy, right? Like, how's that cool? This guy who's a WWE jobber has been pulling the strings here. I mean, I guess if you do it correctly, it could work, you know? Like, if you just have Matt Hardy come out as like a serious broken Matt Hardy. But that's dumb. That's not smart. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the whole Matt Hardy shtick isn't that. You know? It's not that, like the whole broken thing is that he plays this, like Ministry of Darkness Undertaker. It's like a parody of that, basically. You know, I remember when he first came out and like attacked Jeff Hardy in TNA, he had one of those voice alternating things on the microphone where he was like Brother Nero, like he really was this evil character, right? And then he became more and more absurd like every week because he understood, hopefully, the actor, the guy that plays Matt Hardy understood that this is such a stupid, overdone thing where the guy just becomes evil randomly. Like Kane is evil, Undertaker is evil, like Judas Messias, Mordecai, all these Abyss, all these people that are just evil, right? That it's so overplayed that how can you make this like better, right? You make it better by making fun of the fact that it's overplayed, right? And exaggerating the stereotypes. That's what Matt Hardy did. He played with stereotypes and he created broken Matt Hardy. If he does this again, it risks being a parody of a parody, which is the worst thing you can have. So with that, motherfucks, I hope you enjoyed the first ever edition of Wrestling News with the hate, motherfuckers. This was actually very enjoyable for me to do because I just kind of shot the shit here by myself and talked about things that are happening around us, motherfuckers. A lot of things happen around us. You got to open your eyes and see them, motherfucks. Now, I'm sure there's like a few pieces of tidbits that I've missed that were relevant to me, right? But I think that's all I got for now. I just want to end with this. This whole AEW nerd beard thing that pretty much says that behind a faction, there has to be some sort of shadowy force is fucked up, right? Oh, I think Matt Hardy's behind Dark Order. And then my favorite of all, Marty Scurll is going to be revealed as the leader, motherfucks, of Inner Circle. Marty Scurll is leading Jack Swagger and Out and Proud. And more importantly, he's leading Jericho. What? Marty Scurll? He would have trouble taking Sammy Guevara's spot, let alone being the leader of that bullshit. That's all I gotta say about that, motherfuckers. It reminds me of a story that I told before, but I think it was before the reboot, so I'll say it again. This guy I met at a bar. There was before WWE Network, I would watch a lot of pay-per-views at bars, right? I'd go with some of my friends. It was a really good experience because you'd get like bar food, like chicken wings or chicken tenders, mozzarella sticks, a Coke or a beer, right? And you just watch wrestling for like hours, right? And it got pretty rowdy sometimes. Like people there would start chanting. A lot of people got drunk. It was a good time anyways. And there was this guy that I met there a couple of times. And every time I met him, he was drunk. And he had like a little limp hand, like a gimp hand, if you will. I don't know what the politically correct term is, but a gimp hand, right? A gimp hand. And he told me the first time he heard it, like while trying out for like the Atlanta Braves or some bullshit, right? Or some like other team that's not even like a local team, right? And he was like, "Oh, I almost made it, but then like someone hit me with a fastball in the hand or some bullshit like that, right?" So and like it was the most ridiculous story ever. Like someone hit him with a fastball in the hand, and that hand was what he pitched with, and he was like the best pitcher ever, right? And he didn't make it. And then another time, he presented himself to me as a guy that worked for TNA as a writer for a while, right? And he was also a former wrestler, and he hurt his hand wrestling. I'm just like, dude, you gotta stick with the story, man. And this guy, I remember him the most from his ridiculous idea. I remember I watched Money in the Bank, John Cena versus CM Punk at this bar. CM Punk won, and this guy was like, "Oh yeah, you know what I think it is? I think CM Punk's coming back tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, and he's gonna say, I'll come back if you meet my terms, and my terms are that you sign the Kings of Wrestling." Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro, for all of you not smarks, right? And Chris Hero, who we now also know as, what's his face? Cassius Ohno, right? And that was going to be the big thing, the big payoff of the whole CM Punk, Cena, and and CM Punk leaving angle was going to be that CM Punk gets a job for Cesaro and Cassius Ohno. That's what this guy thought was a big plan, right? So don't listen to these beards. Don't listen to people like that. Don't listen to people that say that, oh, I think Matt Hardy would make a good leader for Dark Order. Maybe he would, but probably he wouldn't, motherfucks. So take that for what it is and go and fuck yourselves, motherfucks. Suck it.